Why, hello there. I'm Sin. We are in the Book Nook, and today we're going to talk about a book that was kind of a sneaker. I don't know. I randomly stumbled across it. It was not recommended. I hadn't heard anything about it, and it was fan-freaking-tastic. It's a thriller that has to do with time travel, and so the book we're going to talk about today is called The Memory Collectors by Dete Meserve. And I randomly picked this up. I've been on kind of a time travel kick recently and read a couple really fantastic books that had to do with time travel. The other two was The Fifth Rule of Time Travel by Philip Fracassi and then Dissolution by Nicholas Bind. And then this one too, like awesome. So it follows these different characters, and there's this company, Aeon Expeditions. You travel not with your body, it's through your consciousness. And this is the third book where the time travel, like the way you time travel is through consciousness and you return to yourself at different points in time. And so initially there is no like set time you'll arrive in. It's just you go and maybe you'll be 22 years in the past. Maybe you'll only be 2 years in the past. It just depends. So the cost of this is like 5 figures. People basically have to apply and write letters, and they're very choosy about who they pick to go on this stuff. So a lot of people get denied if they spent time in jail, or if they had problems with drugs, or if they have any mental instability, this, that, and the other. As you follow the story, there's these different characters who have been rejected from the program, but a while later get an email saying, oh, you're allowed to go now. And no one really thinks too deeply into this. And so usually when you go, it's for an hour, 60 minutes. You go in, they put you in this thing, and then you return to the past and at some moment in time. A lot of people want to go for different reasons. Some because they a lost loved one, others a actual love that they lost, who disappeared. There was another guy who he's paralyzed and he wants to go back to a time when he could run and climb mountains and swim and do all this stuff that's been taken from him. And so there's this group of people that end up going, unbeknownst to each other, who are all kind of tied together. And so they all end up going back and then they get stuck. This is in the premise. This is literally on the book. The whole premise of the book is these people go, and it seems like there is a tie that binds, that loosely connects all these people to some of them being the worst day of their life. This date of August 25th, 2025. So you have all these different characters. You have Elizabeth, who actually, her husband is the founder of Aeon Expeditions, and they're divorced. She's his ex-wife. Their son had died, and when her son died, his name was Sam, he was found near this other guy who was like a drug dealer, and when Sam disappeared, he had taken the gun from their safe and $3,000, and he was hit by a car, and so he had died, and she just never really knew what happened that night. Like, why was he with a drug dealer? She never really thought he seemed into any of that and whatnot, and just it broke her. And that loss led to her divorce and just, being kind of numb and not being quite the same ever since that happened. And then you have this other guy who is a writer. His name's Andy, and he had lost the love of his life. They only knew each other for 5 days, and he's kind of convinced he wasn't really ghosted by her. He thinks she disappeared and something happened, and he never got over that. It's not one of those like psychotic, obsessed with your ex kind of things. It's just like something that never left him. He looked for her. He wasn't a crazy person. So you have him hoping to find her again when he goes back to the past. And then you have Logan. And Logan, he was paralyzed from the waist down. And he was the one who was a former drug dealer, not a drug dealer anymore. He chose exercise to break free from his addictions with drugs and alcohol and all of that. But August 25th, 2025, he was hit by a car and paralyzed. And so he wants to go back to a time when he can walk and run and swim and do all these things just to experience that one more time. Because you have all these very emotional reasons people want to go back. Then you have this woman, Brooke, who basically is numb, lost everything because of a mistake that she made in the past that affected a bunch of others, that was very devastating, and she's just kind of walks through life and feels numb and doesn't really do much of anything. And she's also tied into what had happened with all these people. And so eventually they all end up realizing that they're there for longer than an hour. Their paths start to cross and they start to realize this, and they're like, okay, are we stuck? What do we do? And at some point they're like, hey, Elizabeth, maybe you should reach out to your ex-husband because maybe he can help us, because at that point in time that they're all stuck, they're in like, I think they started on like August 20th. So they're 5 days before the day that changed basically everyone's lives for the worse happens. She doesn't really want to because she's afraid, and she doesn't want to, like, she has a lot of different reasons to not want to talk to her husband. But eventually she is convinced that she needs to talk to him to try to figure out how they can get out of here. But then at the same time, she kind of just wants to stay there and have that time again with her son, who she had lost and who had died, and just being able to find out what had actually happened the night that he had died, or even trying to change the future, which they've all been told is not possible. So what will happen? Will they change the future? How long will they all be stuck there? What happens when they all start coming together? Will they find what they were looking for that they had lost? Or will it be a whole nother experience to open their eyes to what can be possible when and if they make it back to the present? It was a really touching and beautiful and emotional story. Like, hits the ground running from page 1. This is like one of those addicted reads that I had to keep going. Like, it is a page turner, a page burner. I think out of this being now the 3rd time travel book I read, this is my favorite out of those 3. They're all great, but this one, just the emotional parts of it and how I couldn't put it down. It was super addictive and fantastic. And if you like books about time travel, I feel like you may just like this. If any of that sounds good to you, definitely check it out. Like I said, never heard of this author. It was a random pick and I loved it. Also, if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.